Choose a local expert. Hiring is about getting to know people, not algorithms. So let the team at Express Employment Professionals hire for you. Visit expresspros.com to find the office near you.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers win by 15 in New Orleans, 35 points and 17 rebounds for Anthony Davis. The Lakers can reach the 500 mark for the first time this season with a win tonight at Houston. Davis will not be in the lineup tonight. The Lakers front office and medical staff don't want AD playing back-to-back games until his right foot is completely healed. The Clippers are at home tonight against Golden State. The Clippers are going for their fourth straight win. Although quite a few NFL players have already changed teams, NFL free agency officially begins today. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by Original Taco Pete.
Aaron at Original Taco Pete's. Come in today for our tasty seasoned black taco. We're at 3272 West Slauson off Crenshaw, or call 323-348-4441.
Hi, I'm civil rights attorney Areva Martin, host of Areva Martin in Real Time, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Be sure to tune in weekdays at 4:35 p.m. for your daily download on the federal bribery trial of LA City Council member Mark Ridley Thomas. The case is sure to have many twists and turns, and our program will be the show of record in the case of United States versus Mark Ridley Thomas. We have our own seasoned justice correspondent who will be checking in with us to keep you up to speed on the daily details of this high-profile legal case. Be sure to tune in to Areva Martin in Real Time, weekdays at 4:35 p.m. for United States versus Mark Ridley Thomas, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Order in the court.
Guess you wonder where I've been. I searched to find the love within. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go.
I'm Tavis Smiley. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. Our phone number 1-800-920-1580. 1-800-920-1580. Some sad news to share. Bobby Caldwell, the soulful singer and songwriter behind R&B hits like the one you're listening to right now, What You Won't Do for Love and Open Your Eyes, has died. According to a statement from his wife, Mary Caldwell, he was 71. His wife said he'd been dealing with health issues, for some time. His hit song, What You Won't Do for Love, hit the Billboard 100 charts after its release in 1978. Artists as various as Tupac Shakur, Common, and John Legend have all sampled his music. He was born in New York, grew up in Miami, and got a big break, I didn't know this, as a guitarist for Little Richard. He credited his cultural diversity in his hometown. We just talked for an hour about diversity, right? Bobby Caldwell credited cultural diversity in his hometown with its Haitian, reggae, Latin pop, and R&B influences, with his ability to perform music across all genres. We just discussed this on this program a few weeks ago. We had a question to one of our guests. We went back and forth about it, putting together our top 10 blue-eyed soul artists, and Bobby Caldwell is on that list.
For love, you've tried everything, but you won't give up.
Bobby Caldwell, dead at the age of 71. Again, you got to be stuck on stupid to have a top 10 list of blue-eyed soul artists and Bobby Caldwell not be on your list, maybe even at the top of your list. I had the chance to interview Bobby Caldwell once or twice on my national television program. Great guy. I enjoyed the conversation immensely, and he got tickled when I told him, as every other black person has told him in this country and around the world, that we did not know he was white until we finally saw him. But just to hear his smooth song stylings, you would never have guessed that this white brother could do it the way Bobby Caldwell did it. He is now gone at the age of 71. in this hour a conversation about the issue of black masculinity. It is an area of study and topic of public discourse that has gained increasing attention, I think it's fair to say, in recent years. The subject of black masculinity is brought to the fore once again with the recent box office smash hit Creed 3, starring Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. A conversation then about how black men navigate the intersections of race, gender, and culture in this hour, now that we are joined by psychologist and human behavior specialist, Dr. Curtis D. Jasper. Dr. Jasper, good to have you on, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's my great honor, man. Thank you for taking the time. Glad we've got the hour. A lot to talk about. Let me start with this, and we will get more specific as we move through the hour. But I wonder if I might start with the question about your critique of the conversation about black masculinity of late. Give me your thoughts.
So I think it's overused.
Mm-hmm.
If we go back to the pandemic, every 6 months, we were focusing on some catchphrase, if you will. And I just think that toxic masculinity has hung around longer than necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I've had many conversations regarding it, and I'm happy to unpack it. What shows up for me is that it has derived from outside culture, and the black community has sort of ran with it. And, yeah, man, we can go several areas with that.
Well, let's go then. We got an hour, man. I got time. You got time. Let's jump in. When you say it's derived from outside culture, tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, white culture has been coming up with phrases to sort of limit our existence, as we know. And I just think it's time to sort of shed light on what it means to be masculine from a black standpoint. And outside cultures has sort of put a halt to that by throwing this toxic term that was very prevalent during the pandemic.
I'm not.
What it means to be. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead. I'm sorry. What it means to be. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What it means to be black and masculine is unique when it comes to just the overall conversation of masculinity. I'm fortunate enough to work with 99% of black men from a professional standpoint, and we are now struggling because of outside influences on what it means to be masculine and black.
I'm full of questions. It's gonna be a rich hour. I'm just getting started here. Tell me how it is. Again, I'm not naive in asking this question either, but how is it that we allow outside cultures, to use your phrase, I love that, very, very nicely put. How do we allow outside cultures to define terminology like this for us and the broader society? And moreover, how then do we buy into those definitions?
Yeah, great question, Tavis. I think the push for social media is probably leading this charge. We have a large segment of just the mass consciousness who are not doing due diligence. I mean, they ain't reading nothing, but they are scrolling, they are sharing, they are reposting. And it is that push that has, even in your opening, it is that push that has sort of generated these fragmented conversations on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So I just think the fast movement of social media has contributed to our detriment in a lot of different areas.
But this terminology, toxic black masculinity, was that deliberate or was that malign?
No, that was deliberate. This whole notion of toxic, right, meaning poisonous, and then added in front of masculinity was a deliberate configuration, no question about that.
Yeah, I meant deliberate or benign. I said malign. That's the same thing. I mean, deliberate or benign, but you took my point, and I thank you for not correcting me, but you gave me the answer I wanted anyway. The other thing that fascinates me is your comment of a moment ago that the term toxic black masculinity has hung around longer than necessary. Unpack that for me.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of capitalism, sexism, racism, the LGBTQ movement. There's a compilation on why this is happening when it comes to black masculinity. It has us conversing, not really pinpointing what it means to uniquely be black and masculine. For example, if you've seen the movie Creed 3, the two brothers who the pictures are floating around where they're hugging each other, they're in close proximity. And social media ran with that. The black community had a field day with that on mediums that are ran by white folks. But the black people had a lot to say, as if sports figures did not embrace, as if Magic, as if today college players are not hugging on each other on the sideline. It's a sports movie. It's an expression of black masculinity. The toxic, displaced, Tavis.
Tell me more. For those who've not been on social media and haven't seen what you saw, and others of us haven't, in fact, seen. Tell me how you read the ways in which those pictures were circulated and the commentary attached thereto.
It was refreshing. It was refreshing from my standpoint to see two brothers who I've been following for the last few years, just their professional progression. And it was refreshing to see a photograph with two brothers starring in the movie, embracing each other, hugging each other, staring into the camera. That was refreshing to me. That was refreshing to me. It did not cross my mind to be disturbing. It didn't shake my spirit or my soul. I actually smiled and hurried up and jumped in the movie theater and went to see it.
Well, it worked. It worked.
Exactly.
He set records. He set records on opening weekend, so it got through to somebody. When we come forward, just getting started, it's going to be a fun hour here, an empowering hour, an enlightening hour, an inspiring hour, and we'll laugh a little bit. But I've got some more questions. I want to, when we come forward, ask him, I could have started our conversation here, what he thinks when he hears the term toxic black masculinity. Moreover, what does he think we think when we hear the term toxic black masculinity? There's a lot more to unpack as we move through this hour. You're listening to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580. Our guest in this hour is Dr. Curtis D. Jasper, as we offer tribute to Bobby Caldwell, who passed away earlier today at the age of 71.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Thanks to our new sponsor, Lendistry. Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered in Los Angeles. Lendistry helps small business owners access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit Lendistry, LENDISTRY.com/KBLA today.
The U.S. premiere of the official Bob Marley One Love Experience has arrived in Los Angeles. Open now through April 23rd at Ovation Hollywood on the corner of Hollywood and Highland. Tickets start at $20 plus fees and are available at BobMarleyEXP.com. That's BobMarleyEXP.com. Get your tickets today.
California is a great place to live and work, but those aren't easy things to do for students also going to college. That's why the state created the Californians for All College Corps, a way for students to build skills and help others while earning up to $10,000 for school. Commit to serve your community and we'll help you pay for college. Spots will fill up fast, so learn more and apply today at www.cacollegecorps.com. That's www.cacollegecorps.com. California is a great place to live and work, but those aren't easy things to do for students also going to college. That's why the state created the Californians for All College Corps, a way for students to build skills and help others while earning up to $10,000 for school. Commit to serve your community and we'll help you pay for college. Spots will fill up fast, so learn more and apply today at www.cacollegecorps.com. That's www.cacollegecorps.com.
The double steak grilled cheese burrito is back at Taco Bell. And in case you didn't know, it's stacked. Yeah, packed inside it is a double serving of premium grilled marinated steak and a melty 3-cheese layer. Then on top of that, it has a layer of grilled bubbly cheese on the outside. Yeah, the outside. Why? Probably because it refuses to be caged in by the confines of its tortilla walls. Or maybe just to add more cheesy flavor.
double steak grilled cheese burrito. Get one today, only at Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only while supplies last. Double steak claim is compared to steak quesadilla. Contact store for hours and participation which vary.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Trying to keep you at a distance. Didn't wanna get too involved. Oh no. Ooh, but the power of attraction was too strong of a reaction, and I couldn't help it at all. Oh no.
I'm Tavis Smiley. That's Bobby Caldwell. In case you just tuned in, Bobby Caldwell, that blue-eyed soul singer out of Miami, passed away today at the age of 71. We are playing a little Bobby Caldwell for you in this hour as we celebrate his catalog and the hits that he gave us during his lifetime. I didn't realize this either. As I said, I interviewed Bobby Caldwell a couple times in my career. So honored to do so. I did not realize that he wrote the big hit, The Next Time I Fall, for Amy Grant and Peter Cetera. Big hit for Amy Grant and Peter Cetera, The Next Time I Fall, In Love. Bobby Caldwell wrote that song for them, and a number of other songs, I should say, he wrote for other artists, aside from the hits that he penned for himself. Again, Bobby Caldwell, dead at the age of 71. And if you also just tuned in, we mentioned in our last hour, breaking news out of the White House, President Joe Biden has made a statement that Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter, is in his final days, hours. We don't know exactly, but that Jimmy Carter is on the verge of making his transition, and he has asked President Biden to offer the eulogy at his funeral services. And so that commentary statement came from President Biden about the condition of one Jimmy Carter. As you know, a few weeks ago, he left the hospital saying he wanted to spend his remaining days at home with his family in hospice, and so he has been at his home, longtime home in Plains, Georgia, preparing to make his transition. And so in the days ahead, we expect, or perhaps even hours, who knows, Jimmy Carter to make his transition. We all, as I said earlier, at some point have to do that dance with mortality. We will not get out of here alive. I only know one person who left and came back 3 days later. But I digress on that particular point. Bobby Caldwell dead at 71, and we are on watch now for President Jimmy Carter. I also mentioned last hour I've interviewed Jimmy Carter many times in the course of my career. I'm thankful for that. And when that moment comes, we'll be happy to share with you some pieces of our various conversations with President Carter over the course of my broadcast career. He was always kind to put me on his list whenever he came this way. And so we will celebrate the life and legacy of Jimmy Carter at the appropriate time. In this hour, we continue our conversation about black masculinity, a subject that has been talked about increasingly over the last few years, and certainly an area of study, and the issue is back front and center thanks to some marketing and promotion vis-a-vis Creed 3, the massive hit starring Michael B. Jordan. Movie also, of course, his directorial debut, and alongside him in that movie, as you know, Jonathan Major. So this issue of black masculinity is back at the on the table for conversation, and I'm delighted in this hour to have as our guest Dr. Curtis D. Jasper, a scholar and an expert in the field of African American studies, and has a particular focus on black masculinity for our conversation today, and I'm glad to have him here. Dr. Jasper, let me come to that question that I posed before the break a moment ago, which is, we could have started here. When you hear the term that you think has hung around far too long, as you've already said, when you hear the term toxic black masculinity, what do you think? And how do you think everyday people process that term? What do they hear when they hear that phrase, toxic black masculinity?
Well, I hear a couple of things, depending on the context and who it's coming from. Obviously, if it's outside the culture, if it's amongst white folks, I hear the N word. Let's be clear. When it's circulated amongst us, I hear a discrepancy, a battle between gender and sexes, men versus women, and a whole host of things that come from that. So one of the things that I share with people is, like, we got to be clear on inserting other people's perspectives into our culture from their context with words like toxic.
Yeah. Tell me more about the ways in which you see this since you teed it up, this intra-black community conversation, debate, dialogue, you tell me, about toxic black masculinity, namely, of course, men and women, men v. women.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm open to conversations when it comes up, because it comes up frequently. I offer people to sort of dissect how we just assign terms to it. Now, I'm all for hyper masculinity, right? And, you know, we've used that in proper context, culturally context, right? Meaning energetic, right? More than usually excited. We've said things like hype. So black boys are born with their head on a swivel. They are born in a culture that has conditioned them at birth to be hyper. With that hyper, they add this lifelong quest of what it means to be masculine. So that's the hyper masculinity, right? Is it dangerous? Is it exploitive? Is it maladaptive in instances? But we could assign that to more white folks than black any day of the week. But what I challenge black folks on is really staying with what it is that we're actually saying about black men when it comes to masculinity.
So that term, I hear you pushing back, as you have, and will continue to, I'm sure, for the rest of this hour. I hear you pushing back on the term toxic black masculinity. But so that I hear you correctly, are you suggesting that hyper black masculinity is not a term that you find derogatory?
No, I don't. I don't think hyper masculinity is derogatory when it's assigned to black men, overly excited or energetic, right? It doesn't. It's not synonymous with dangerous. Not synonymous with predatory, as toxic is when it's presented from outside cultures into the black community.
Take me back. Again, we got the hour here, so you can feel free to just unpack a little bit more if you'd like. But take me back to when you think, certainly here in how can I put this, in late modernity, take me back to when you think this conversation about toxic black masculinity jumped off. What was the context of the jumping off of this terminology as you see it?
So that's a good question, Tavis. I heard it years ago. Right? Then sort of died down, and then it sort of picked back up during the pandemic. Rightfully so. We were locked in. We were closed off. There were a lot of mental and emotional challenges that came with that. Men were closed off. Men were impacted financially. The world were, but I'm speaking specifically about black men. So that word took on a life of its own when it came to toxic, right? First it was just toxic men, right? The white women always say that. Just men are toxic. Then this masculinity, and then black was added to that. But I saw that coming, Tavis. I saw toxic, then men. I saw toxic masculinity, and then I saw toxic black masculinity, and it actually picked up steam in that order.
Yeah. What to your mind was the purpose? I asked you earlier, was this deliberate or was it benign? You said deliberate. I could have followed up then, but I want to pivot now back to that. What was the purpose on the part of whomever it was that started referring to us as toxic black males, started using the phrase toxic black masculinity? What was the intent? What was the purpose of labeling us as such?
I mean, we go back to the George Floyd era during the pandemic, right? Right after that, here we come, right? It was sort of a numbing, keep us in our place thing. That's how I received it, right? It was based on systemic racism to describe black men softly as being dangerous by adding the word toxic.
Are there things that African-American males do that play into, that aid and abet, they're referring to us as toxic black males?
Yes, I mean there's a lot of things. Mostly when it comes to systems in place that are not in support of black men being fully comprehensive, holistic men, starting from boyhood, right? So there's a lot of different things that come into play. Yeah, are there black boys and black men who are exploiting the whole use of masculinity? Are they dangerous? Is there domestic violence? Absolutely, there is, right? And I'm not refraining that. I'm not giving a pass that brothers in general are not toxic. What I'm offering is the term toxic is code word for dangerous black men, and I offer us to unpack that. What black men could do is a number of things. First, we have to really allow ourselves to be fully expressed. Like, what does it mean to be a comprehensive brother, right? That includes crying. You could be black and masculine. You could be 230 pounds and shed a tear weekly and still be solid, right? It's that wave of what it means to be fully expressed as a black man. And we can replace that with this T word, toxic, and just talk about what does it mean to be fully expressed, because dangerous and reckless is not what it means to be masculine.
I like your phrase, being a comprehensive black man, But tell me more about why you think then that so many black men are, trying to find the right word here, afraid to be, choose not to be, you tell me, fully expressed, as you put it.
There's no value in it. Black men are afraid to express themselves, that they don't see value, and they know the world doesn't see value. Black men at birth, they are clear that they're only as useful as their productivity, period. Their usefulness is based on their productivity. They see no value in being fully expressed, right? Of course, we could take it down to black. We were told not to cry, and that. All of us cried. It just depends on if we did it in the light or in the dark. But what we do know is that we don't express what is not valued, right? In the hood or in the boardroom. We just don't. And that's cultural, but it's predicated on patriarchy, capitalism, and systemic racism.
My board op, a young brother named Miles Lowe, used to work for a guy named Michael Baisden. I think Baisden wrote a book called Men Cry in the Dark. Am I right? Yeah, it's a good book that Baisden wrote called Men Cry in the Dark. I recall that book from years ago. I still have it on my bookshelf somewhere. When we come forward after news, traffic, and sports, I want to come back to this notion of being a fully expressed black male, not having any value in it. I ain't done with that yet. I want to come back to that. And I also want to pivot. I'm going to swing out here, but I know he can handle it. And ask Dr. Kurt about the relationship, the dialectic, if you will, between vulnerability and masculinity. Vulnerability and masculinity. A great deal more to talk about in this hour as we tackle this topic of black masculinity that's back on the table for conversation based on the movie Creed 3, starring Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. You're listening to a conversation about black masculinity right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
We may be LA's newest talk station, but when you're punching above your weight, it's not about whether you can throw a punch. Can you take a punch? We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. And we don't black down.
We've made it to the middle of the week. Thanks for joining us here on the Black Information Network. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest. In Mississippi, dozens of protesters from the national advocacy group Black Voters Matter gathered outside the state capitol in Jackson Tuesday to voice their opposition to House Bill 1020, calling the Republican-sponsored legislation a hostile takeover of the city of Jackson by the state. The group called on Mississippi lawmakers to vote against the proposal. The bill would expand the jurisdiction of the Capitol Complex Improvement District, also calls for judges to be appointed instead of elected. Spring garden tours return to the White House in a couple of weeks. The South Grounds and White House Gardens will be open for guided public tours on April 1st and April 2nd from 10 until 4:30. The tours are free. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
In the
new Hall Pass. We've got a wreck working now on the 5 northbound, just past the 14 connector. A couple of vehicles there in the center divider area. No lanes are blocked. On the 10 westbound at Dudley, a hit-and-run accident reported. That is moving to the off-ramp. And on the 605 northbound, right at the 60, a solo car collision. A vehicle slammed into the guardrail, is now on the right shoulder.
Stop going it alone for recruiting and staffing. Choose a local expert. Hiring is about getting to know people, not algorithms. So let the team at Express Employment Professionals hire for you. Visit expresspros.com to find the office near you.
The Dell Technologies semi-annual sale starts now with savings on select PCs powered by the latest 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Plus, get deals on select accessories and free shipping on everything. Save now by calling 877-ASK-DELL.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers win by 15 in New Orleans, 35 points and 17 rebounds for Anthony Davis. The Lakers can reach the 500 mark for the first time this season with a win tonight at Houston. Davis will not be in the lineup tonight. The Lakers front office and medical staff don't want AD playing back-to-back games until his right foot is completely healed. The Clippers are at home tonight against Golden State. The Clippers are going for their 4th straight win. Although quite a few NFL players have already changed teams, NFL free agency officially begins today. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by Original Taco Pete.
Aaron at Original Taco Pete's. Come in today for our tasty seasoned black taco. We're at 3272 West Slauson, off Crenshaw, or call 323-348-4441.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. Today, I was able to speak with Ola Wadibia, VP of Women on the Move. Hi, Ola. Tell me a bit about this initiative by JP Morgan Chase, founded in 2013.
Women on the Move is a center of excellence at JP Morgan Chase and our global DEI organization, where we really focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. What's really awesome about Chase's approach is that all of our centers of excellence, and there's 7 of them, focus on different demographic groups, is that we're really focusing on what's happening internally in the firm and also what's happening out in community. So really, Women on the Move is really focused on thinking about how do we help advance women professionally and personally.
I love it. So tell me about this beautifully updated banking branch here on Crenshaw.
That was really important. A part of our racial equity commitment was to build in place for Chase. So being able to revamp this beautiful space, to be able to welcome community members, today anyone, nonprofit, organization, school can actually do events in our community center that we're sitting in here for free. Yes, people come inside, grab a coffee, use the Wi-Fi. It's free.
Yes, Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
Interrogating your assumptions and expanding your inventory of ideas. Let's get back to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
How can you be so blind? You're still regretting the love you left behind. Oh, darling, I've seen you go through the changes, sitting alone each night.
we are trying to open your eyes and show you the light in this hour in conversation about black masculinity, toxic black masculinity, hyper black masculinity, with our guest, Dr. Curtis D. Jasper. But we are playing that particular track from Bobby Caldwell because he is now the late, great Bobby Caldwell. We learned a little bit ago that Bobby Caldwell has passed away at the age of 71, one of the great blue-eyed soul singers. Now gone at the age of 71, Bobby Caldwell. We continue now with Dr. Kurt in this hour as we talk about, again, all things black masculinity. And before news, traffic, and sports, he said something that I was processing then and, frankly, processed all during that break, and that is this notion of what it means to be a comprehensive black man, what it means to be a fully expressed black man. Two terms that Dr. Kurt used earlier in this conversation, but he suggested to me, not suggested, indeed said to me, when I asked him why black men, more of us, are not willing to be comprehensive, why we are not willing to be fully expressed, he said there's no value in it. And I've been noodling that because I guess the question now is, what value would we have to receive to convince us to be more fully expressed, to be more comprehensive? Dr. Kurt?
Yeah, I think it starts with redefining what masculinity means for us in particular. Masculinity is a social construct. It's a historical construct. It's a political construct, right? But it's far from manhood, and it ain't biologically based, right? We talk about the sisters being masculine from an energy standpoint. What I offer as black people in particular is redefine what it actually means. And the way to do that is set aside mainstream consciousness terms for a minute, toxic and masculine. Just go to manhood, what that means to be fully expressed for now. And let's rock with that. Let's see where we go with that, because the social expectations on what it means to be a man is different depending on which lens you're coming from. And we know from a systemic racism standpoint, it's already co-opted. And so when they throw terms like toxic and black, that's usually constructed to have us to be subservient socially, politically, historically, and financially.
Where would redefining the terms land us? And I'm asking that question with this in my mind. It may be a non sequitur, but I hope you'll take my point. I'm thinking of the so-called N-word. I hate the N-word because it ain't the N-word. It's nigga. That's what it is, right? And over a period of years, while there's still great debate about the use of that word, over a period of years, there are those who would argue that we have taken that word and flipped it. That we now use that word as a term of endearment. Again, I understand there's a great debate about that. People don't like that word. My mama from Mississippi hates that term. She ain't buying my spinning. She ain't buying the spin on the fact that we've taken the sting out of it. Maya Angelou, like a godmother to me. Maya Angelou and I had a great debate about this one day. I write about it in my book about our relationship, almost 30 years in the making. And she and I went at it one day, lovingly and respectfully, about this so-called N-word. She had her take, I had my take. So my point, though, is that that's just one example of a word that we have taken and sort of redefined for ourselves. Where that's landed us, I do not know, hence my question. If we could, in fact, redefine these terms, toxic or abandon them, hyper, masculine, where would the redefinition of those terms actually land us?
Well, it'll allow us to be fully expressed first. We could assign words to how we feel and new perspectives.
Right.
We could sort of take our power back by saying, hey, let's sit this over. It's 1,000,001 billion new words, right? Particularly when we talk about working with young boys and young men, right? What else we got is the phrase that I use when I'm talking to my peers when it comes to mentoring or giving back to the young boys. Like, what else we got? So if we set masculinity, can we introduce the black community, black men in particular, to new perspectives, first starting with the language? And you use nigga, right? And us growing up in South Side of Chicago, that was our thing. I still on the text thread with my partners I grew up with. We don't use it as much unless we're reflecting back to our high school days.
Right.
But now that we're in our 50 plus, we have deliberately used other softer words so that we can really, really stay connected. 50-plus gentlemen. I think we owe that to the young guys.
Yeah, that's a great segue to this other issue that I want to give you a chance to unpack for us in this hour. And I don't need to color this question much more than this, but talk to me about the relationship, the dialectic between vulnerability and masculinity as you see it.
Right. So vulnerability in the general sense, for me, means to remain and stay open, right? I think the way it was presented, outside of our context, outside of our cultural competency from other folks, it has traveled down to mean sort of docile and waiting to be attacked, right? So sort of just kind of like at the mercy, like just be vulnerable, like, and we can't get this over to the brothers in the hood, right? Because subconsciously they have their own meanings to what these words mean. I replaced it with vulnerability depending on the context. So if it's emotional, be open, meaning allow stuff to flow in and out. If it's financially, ask for what you need. If it's affection, ask for what that is, being honored. But also being vulnerable is to be accountable. If I'm in the gym, Tavis, every morning with my trainer, I ask for help. That's vulnerability. So we have to present a number of different examples to black men on what it means to be a vulnerable black man. Let me use that phrase. That's my new phrase, Tavis. A vulnerable black man. If you know you need help, asking, that's vulnerable. Don't have to give up your manhood, right? You don't have to not cry. You don't have to lash out. What does it mean to be vulnerable? It means open. It means accountable. It means asking for what you need. It means being honorable to yourself. It don't mean waiting on being attacked or crying every time your feelings are hurt. I mean, that has its place, but that's not what we're doing with vulnerability amongst the black community.
No, I'm glad I asked that question. I'm more pleased that you answered it in the way that you did, because it seems to me, and I've said this many times, that when you ask a brother to be vulnerable, that's a dead end. That's a non sequitur. It ain't a conversation starter when you tell a brother, well, you just need to be vulnerable. So hold up, wait a minute, because I think the other word I would add to that list is when brothers hear the word vulnerable, they think it means to be soft. It's some version of being soft. And so that word vulnerable is a non-starter when you talk to a lot of black men, which leads me to this, though. It seems to me that what you're basically establishing for me in this conversation, which I've never sort of thought about in this particular way, is that there is a way. Now, here's what I do know. Let me back up. I know that words matter. I know that language matters. It's what I do every day, right? I'm a linguist. This is what I do every day on the radio. And in my books and television, this is what I do. So I know that words matter. Language matters. But I never thought about it in this context until I was listening to you literally in the last 3 minutes, which is that there is a way to talk to black men, to get their attention, to pull them into a conversation. And there's a way, obviously, not to do that. But words and language matter. So let me back up and ask a question about that, about the way in which we, if we want to be successful, engage in conversation, in dialogue, in discourse with black men.
I mean, it has to be from us, by us, and used to empower us, right? And oftentimes, depending on your generation, we have to include all generations, right? I work with young brothers. One of the things I say, if a young person under 25 or 30 say they got you, they got you. If you go to a restaurant and your waiter is a young person and he forgot, and you ask him, if a young person say, I got you, they have you. If they say nothing, maybe not. So we have to really get it right. So we gotta we gotta reach back and reach forward and sort of collectively say, what is it like? Are you feeling me? Right? Whether they say I got you or call me OG and say break that down to me. So I think it's we got to do a better job at it.
No, I'm laughing. No, I'm laughing, Dr. Kurt. I was at a restaurant last night, and there was this young brother who was at my table, or waiting on my table, and I wasn't particularly happy with the service when I first arrived, and I saw this young brother, and he came up to the table, and I told him what was troubling me, and he said, Mr. Smiley, I got you. And a few minutes later, this Negro brought me a new drink. He brought me some fresh bread. He brought me some hot macaroni and cheese. I mean, this brother took care of me last night. To your point, though, young brother. He said, Mr. Smiley, I got you. And sure enough, he got me for the rest of the night. And of course, I took care of him when all said and done. Although I'm learning, Dr. Kurt, you'll appreciate this. So the great motivator, speaking of black men, the great motivator Les Brown was on this station in February. So the month of February, Black History Month, we had Les Brown do a month-long radio residency. So every day in the month of February, Les was just dropping bars for 1 hour every day, motivating the listeners to this black station. talk station. So Les was amazing in the month of February. And one day, somehow, we were talking about tipping. And he made the point that he never tips after a meal. He always tips in advance. And I had never thought about that. And I've had friends call me or text me and say, you know what, that's the best advice I've received all year long so far, to tip in advance. Let's say if you want great service, tip that young brother, tip that young sister on the front side, and you will hear much more frequently, I got you. I digress. We'll continue to come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Some things will never change. I still hold your vision in my mind. Say you still love me.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Did you know California black women serve as breadwinners in 80% of black households, yet only make 55 cents on the dollar to their white male counterparts? Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by Lendistry. Story courtesy of CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. In honor of Women's History Month, the Black Women's Collective and a host of experts, policymakers, labor leaders, and more gathered to create an economic action plan for black women. The facts remain that black women serve as breadwinners in 80% of black households, yet only make 55 cents on the dollar to their white male counterparts. This wage gap is one of the largest in the nation. California falls short of the national rate at 63 cents on the dollar. I'm Maisha Cairo. That's your K-Black Minute News.
Thanks to our new sponsor, Lendistry. Lendistry is a national black-led small business lender that is headquartered in Los Angeles. Lendistry helps small business owners access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit Lendistry, LENDISTRY.com/KBLA today.
KBLA Talk 1580 would like to thank all of the businesses that tune into KBLA at work. We celebrate you, your calls to the station, and your overall support. To show our appreciation, we would like to treat your office to lunch for 10, sponsored by John O'Groats family-owned restaurant and johnogroats.us. Open the KBLA Talk 1580 app or log on to KBLA1580.com to submit your office to be selected for our Office of the Week. We know you're just like our staff, putting in many hard, smart working hours per week. We just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you. You and your staff deserve lunch on us. Enter your office to win lunch for 10 and be highlighted on KBLA Talk 1580 as our Office of the Week. Open the KBLA app or log on to KBLA1580.com to enter your office today to become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. Sponsored by John O'Groats family-owned restaurant and johnogroats.us. Become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. This has been a KBLA Talk 1580 community call to action.
Need legal help? Attorney Jovan Blacknell is an aggressive trial attorney specializing in criminal defense and civil litigation. Look no further than the law office of Jovan Blacknell. From personal injury to criminal defense, Jovan Blacknell has the knowledge to protect your rights. The law office of Jovan Blacknell understands the stress and anxiety that come with legal issues. That's why the law office of Jovan Blacknell supports the right to a fair trial. For Los Angeles Council member Mark Ridley Thomas, are you facing a legal battle? Log on to fightforjustice.com. Don't go through it alone. Let the law office of Jovan Blacknell fight for your rights. Log on to fightforjustice.com. Let the law office of Jovan Blacknell take the worry and stress out of your case. Call 310-469-9117 today for a free consultation. That's 310-469-9117 or log on to fightforjustice.com. Law office of Jovan Blacknell, where experience and dedication make the difference.
Interrogating your assumptions and expanding your inventory of ideas. Let's get back to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to Dr. Curtis D. Jasper, who is a speaker, corporate consultant for companies like Microsoft and colleges and universities. He's the executive director of I Am International, a Georgia-based personal development training and consulting organization. Busy brother, but he's taking an hour. A psychologist and human behavior specialist that he is, taking an hour to spend with us in talking about black masculinity, and I'm delighted to have had him on in this hour. A few minutes left in this hour. I want to cover a few more things. Let me start with this. I'm not sure there's something here. There may be, given what you do as a psychologist and human behavior specialist. Is there a relationship between, that's the best way I can put it, a relationship between black masculinity and black male mental health?
Yes, definitely.
Tell me about it.
Definitely. Well, when considering the term, without using the word toxic, but black masculinity can be excessively used like anything else. It can be overly used in the form of dominance and violence, or to sort of assert power inappropriately.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The basis of mental health, from my experience working with thousands of black men, is being emotionally unwell. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It starts in the body. It starts with the history of the trauma. It starts with the upbringing. Now, small percentage based on research that there are some real mental health challenges, but the majority of the black males that I work with for the last 15-something years, it starts with being emotionally unwell, being emotionally suppressed, being shameful, and that impacts their identity, their personal identity, their sexual identity, their cultural identity, lots of things. Is it expressed through the mind and the behavior? Absolutely. And that's when other agencies get involved. And we could unpack that, as you know, Brother Tavis. But there's a direct connection between masculinity from a toxic standpoint and black mental health. Right? And go ahead.
No, in your practice for these almost 2 decades now, what are the factors that you've identified that lead to the emotional unwellness of black men?
A host of things. There is inadequacy starting from, birth, from the primary care providers not being connected. There's inadequacy in school. Right? There is 1 out of 4 males, black males, have been sexually violated at an early age, and they struggle with that. Right? But one of the earliest institutions to really misdiagnose black males is in the school system. Right? When they cannot control the behavior, they start that paperwork. They start those meds. And that's where the majority, 90% of the black men who have challenges have had some form of referral or diagnosis starting way back in elementary and middle school.
Yeah, it's a sad trajectory. But I hear the point you're making. We've been talking in this hour about the ways in which toxic masculinity impacts the black community. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Dr. Kurt, we'll close talking about the importance of redefining and promoting positive expressions of black masculinity and how exactly we go about doing just that. Dr. Kurt's final thoughts when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
What do you mean he went searching for fresher powder? We have full classes today.
Instructor down at Vesper Ski School.
Toward each other to snowplow, honey, not away.
She needs more ski instructors to slalom through the day-to-day.
Pizza, fries. Whoa, Braley, no, pizza.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar,
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's unpack a little bit more with Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues right now.
Indeed, it does. 3 minutes left here in conversation with Dr. Kurt. I say all the time that you have to download our app and listen to us anywhere in the world in real time. I was checking my phone during the break, and one of my dear friends, who we just honored on our stage here in Los Angeles during Black History Month, we honored Beverly White as one of many African-American legends in local media, and I think I'm putting her out there, but Bev just texted me that she's listening right now to us on her app in her new home in Florida. She retired from KNBC after 30-plus years there, and now she's in Florida and listening to us live on the app to this conversation with Dr. Kurt. So, Bev, we love you, and we were honored to celebrate you for all your years of work and witness here on NBC Local, and hope you will enjoy your retirement. But I know Bev, she ain't really going to retire, but she and her husband now, her beloved, are now in the state of Florida, and thanks for listening to us on the app. Again, download our app, KBLA 1580. Listen to us anywhere you go in the world in real time. Dr. Kurt, final thoughts on this notion of how we go about redefining and promoting positive expressions of Black masculinity.
Well, I think we have to do a job of listing the brothers who are doing real work, such as yourself, Brother Jason Wilson out of Detroit. That's where I got the comprehensive man term from. Brothers who are doing the real work, who have continued to express fully, giving the young brothers permission to be fully expressed. Tell your story, tell your journey, show your journey, shine your own light on some of those cracks, and allow some of that openness to spill over to the young brothers. And I think overall we're doing a great job, right? I follow a ton of brothers online who are doing real work, and we just have to keep the charge. This is, we got to do everything all the time for as long as it takes.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be a part of the charge.
I'm glad you are part of the charge. How do you sustain your hope with all that is still coming at Black men? How do you sustain your hope in the work you do every day?
That's a good question. I stay in the gym, Brother Tavis, right? Watch what I eat.
Yeah.
I don't own the TV. I keep my face in the book. I hang around people that really feeds my soul. I celebrate opportunities like this. And so I've learned to take better care of myself since around 40. So the last 12 years I've stepped up, mostly out of necessity of taking good care of myself.
Yeah. Here's the final exit question. I keep lying to you. Here's the exit question for real, because I ain't got but 45 seconds left. But I'm struck by your not owning a television. I've been at that phase rather, in various parts of my life where I tuned out and checked out myself. And sometimes I'll put my cell phone down for a while just to disconnect from it. But what say you to Black men finally about the things that we imbibe, the things that we take into our spirits and our souls and our beings?
Be careful. Be very careful. You're not alone. Guard everything you have in terms of letting things in. You owe it to yourself. You don't have to let it in because it's out there. Take better care of yourself, brothers.
There you go.
Take better care of yourself.
Dr. Curtis D. Jasper, scholar and expert in a number of fields, but I've been delighted to have had him on as one who has a thriving practice in Atlanta, although he's from Chicago, one of my favorite American cities. Dr. Kurt, good to have you on, man. We'll do it again somewhere down the road. Take care of yourself, brother.
Thank you. And we related, brother. The Dreamer Diggs. I heard me and you related.
Yo-yo.
So I'm happy to be a part of it.
Always good to be in dialogue with a good Capitol brother. I ain't mad at him. Love that brother even more now. That's our show for today. Thanks for tuning in. Time to make room now for the KBLA Midday Money Chain. Up next, the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson, to be followed by Ahead of the Crypto Curve with Anaja Roberts. Old money, new money. Either way, we've got you covered. Thanks for tuning in. Lord willing, back here tomorrow morning to do it all over again. Until then, Bobby Caldwell, we miss you. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
We've We've made it to the middle of the week. Thanks for joining us here on the Black Information Network. I'm